Hey everyone, it's Barbara Ann. Welcome back to my channel, Straight Out of Context. Copyright disclaimer. Under the Copyright Act of 1976, I am within my full legal right to share these following clips via video and audio. The following creators allow reshare, redistribution, and download of their content, and as always, I credit in the description box down below. Fair use, public domain, TikTok third-party license, and TikTok Live automatic third-party license for the use of commentary, reaction, teaching, news reporting, research, comment, and criticism. I am legally within my basic human, civil, and constitutional right to share under the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, to share my expressions, views, thoughts, opinions, feelings, and critiques. The First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution guarantees my freedom of religion, freedom to exercise of, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, free assembly, and the right to petition the government and air my grievances. The First Amendment does not cover lies that amount to defamation, slander, libel, harassment, stalking, cyberstalking, bullying, cyberbullying, threats, or any other verbal crimes.
Hey Bree, you and your cult is gonna come after me? You messed with the wrong one, sister. Or brother. I think you're more like brother. The unaliving of Dee Dee was so vicious and so horrific. You're gonna sit there and you're gonna simp for Little Miss Sunshine? Well, let me tell you something. Let me educate you, Bree. Man. You're simping for the wrong one. Why, she can't stand on her own 2 feet by herself because she uses people? Ha! You're funny, you're comical, you're hilarious. So go ahead and try to simp more, but we're not buying what you're selling. Try again, mister.
Gypsy Rose deactivated her blown beauty art TikTok, but she still has her backup, where a user named Amber J says, "Proud of you, girl. Keep us in the dark." She replies back, "Amber J, I actually kinda like you. You all right? LOL." And she says back to Gypsy, "I knew you would. Get roller skates already." Cry, laugh emoji, blue heart. And she says, "LOL, I need to get some." But Gypsy did not deactivate her Instagram account that she brought back, where she is steady losing more followers, almost another 10,000 more down. However, Gypsy does comment on Beverly Marsh XO's TikTok saying this, "Art is subjective. I seen that banana was taped to a wall and that sold for millions. They called that art. Now, in my opinion, a banana taped to the wall is not art. However, art is subjective. Anyone's certain opinion does not make it good or bad. It just is what it is. That's the beauty of abstract art. It doesn't have to be perfect." Of course, people jumped all over that, but I also had to say my 2 cents, which is the difference is between crafts, anyone can do it, and talented and or educated artists. Lots of people get degrees in art or study art in college, even art history. The price point is 2,900% increase from supply costs on average. That's very high for a craft piece that anybody can do. Here is the video that she left that on, but also Beverly Marsh XO was also responding to another comment from Gypsy previous, which said, "I am private. Other than my art, y'all have no clue what's going on in my life, and I love it." Well, Truthfully Trisha from Dr. Phil circa 2017 isn't letting up because she also has blown beauty art, and it didn't take but a couple days and Gypsy has deactivated her TikTok page once again.
The problem is the art is not good, so it just makes it look like another scam. And here you are just scrolling through videos about yourself, which I guess I can't blame you. There's so many. But it's the fact you came back with the art. Like, that just makes you look desperate for money.
Babe, you're in prison when that happened. It sold for $120,000, and it's something that would never happen again.
Like, you guys, she's comparing her artwork to the banana with duct tape.
Again because she finally got away from her mother. But don't you think that's a red flag, Kiki? Come on, let's use our brain today. Come on, Kiki, you're old enough to use that brain of yours.
I said I wasn't going to talk about Brie anymore, but this is pertaining to Gypsy, so it's fine.
I just think it's so ironic how she was being so condescending and being like, oh, you old enough to use your brain, while telling her that 23-year-old Gypsy was forced to drink from a bottle and forced to wear a diaper by her mother at 23 years old, but okay. And then someone else comments, wow, when I was 23, I had 3 kids. Dee Dee must have been really controlling. Like, that's how she meant it. But they are so used to being defensive that when they saw this girl commented, I'm 23 and married with 3 kids, they fucking went off on her. Well, you should be so fucking lucky. Gypsy was not that lucky. Dee Dee was so fucking controlling. Like, this girl was on their side. She was agreeing that, wow, Dee Dee must have been really controlling, because when I was 23, I was married with 3 kids. Like, they're so used to being defensive that they're even fucking attacking people on their side. And then last thing, I'm sorry, I thought this was crazy. This guy came in to ask questions about Gypsy, and, like, he wasn't being mean, but he wasn't believing anything Bree said, so this was how Bree retaliated.
Look a little Eminem. Promoting,
It's like a savage form of tactics, for cabbage.
This guy was just asking you questions, and he just didn't really believe anything you said, so you showed everybody his TikTok video and made fun of him while he's still in the chat. Okay.
Per usual, the rebrand didn't go well, but Gypsy also said this: I'm not advocating for anything anymore. I've gone private, which means I could be in this comment section all day long, because what is that people say? Oh yeah, this is freedom of speech. Yeah, but you forfeited that right when you decided to take people's lives and harm people, Gypsy. Because there's a difference between expressing your opinion, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your critiques, and actively harming other people by putting out private information. And how can you be in the comment section all day long if you have a very young child? I can see scrolling a little bit here and there if she's napping or sleeping, but all day long. But essentially what Bree is saying is that it was abusive for Gypsy to be almost exactly 24 years old and not allowed to date. Yet Nicholas Godejohn not only met Dee Dee, he also talked to her on the phone 2 different times. Once, which resulted in an argument, and once not. That is mentioned in a lot of the Freedom of Information Act requests that not only I got, but other people got, and Nicholas Godejohn's appeals. He actually speaks about talking to Dee Dee on the phone before. Not being allowed to date at 24 years old while you're living in your mother's house. I mean, that could be argued either which way, but that's not necessarily true, because Gypsy did have a boyfriend, and she had a boyfriend more than one time, and she admits to Nicholas Godejohn that she had talked to over 6 different men, teasing them, sending them pictures of herself topless, and that she liked doing it. And then there's the whole thing with Dan Glidewell and coming around because he was apparently wanting Dee Dee's pain medication. That was also mentioned by David Blanchard in his interrogation. Maybe Dee Dee didn't trust that Gypsy can't pick out decent people. She was picking out people that were on parole, chomos. Clearly, she was talking to and starting relationships with people that had substance issues and or mental disability and mental health issues. So if Dee Dee told her, absolutely not, you can't be talking to strangers from the internet and bringing them to my house, yeah, I can see that. But there's a lot of proof otherwise. But Bree wasn't there. I wasn't there. And we know that we're not going to get the truth from Gypsy. And the only reason why we know about 7 other men is because of Nicholas Godejohn. And we would only know about the one, Dan Glidewell, if we hadn't heard from the Freedom of Information Act request, her messaging Nicholas talking about 6 other men. It doesn't exactly give somebody who's not allowed to date at all. Maybe she just wasn't allowing her to bring strangers from the internet into or around their home. We had the internet in our schools. In 1996, they started converting our libraries to have 30 new PCs in them. By 1998, most middle-class houses had a PC and the internet. But of course, I wasn't the type of person to do something like that, talking and trusting strangers on the internet, striking up relationships and friendships with people that you absolutely do not know. But of course, I want to include this as well because one of her supporters had commented on one of my TikTok videos again, saying that artists don't use expensive paints, implying that it's okay for Gypsy to charge upwards of $150 for one tiny 8x8 or 10x10 painting. And it's okay for her to use cheap dollar store, specifically Dollar General brand paint. Because according to this person, real famous painters don't use expensive paints. And I just couldn't believe what I was reading. Do you think that famous painters, professional painters, used $100 paints? Not only is this dumbfounding, this is shocking to me that somebody would not know this. If you didn't know, lapis lazuli is a beautiful dark blue stone. The problem is that it comes from a mine in Afghanistan. Now, there are other mines in other parts of the world today, but the best lapis lazuli comes from that same mine in Afghanistan. So what does stones have to do with paint or art? It's because that is what creates the pigment. It's the special color of that rock. That is what creates the pigment for certain colors. And for this type of blue, you have to have this rock. But let's take it back for a minute. Old master. In art history, old master refers to any painter of skill who worked in Europe before about the year 1800. Or a painting by such an artist, an old master print, is an original print made by an artist in the same period. The term old master drawing is used in the same way. So who is defined as an old master? Artists that largely worked between the year 1300 and 1800. The Renaissance. People like Leonardo da Vinci with his famous Mona Lisa, Michelangelo, Raphael, Rembrandt, Caravaggio. If you lived in Europe or Britain, it was extremely hard to get anything from Afghanistan. It was not only expensive, it was a very hard undertaking, and it was a long journey. Oh, and did I express that it was very expensive? Unlike today where you can go buy really cheap paint from any dollar store. In the era of the old masters, paint was not a readily available commodity in tubes as it is today. Artists or their apprentices had to do the laborious process of making the paints that they used. And you have to have your pigment, largely from colored rocks, earth, bone, minerals, umbers, siennas, malachites. Even things derived from insects and vermilion were used for pigment sourcing. Now, a lot of the old masters would use oil, but you could also make acrylic. And what you do with this very, very, very fine powder that is your color, your pigment, you have to bind it with a binding agent, like linseed oil for oil paints. Animal byproducts were used often. You had to not only grind it up, you had to get all of your materials, you had to mix it, you had to prepare it, you had to store it, then you had to use it. Unlike professional crafters, which is something that anybody can learn how to do, professional artists may have different preferences and tastes when it comes to what kind of paint and what brand that they like the most. But yes, they certainly do use expensive paints. A lot of art supplies are actually expensive. Craft supplies, not so much. But art supplies, real paints, either oil or acrylic, watercolor, yeah. And as I already replied, Michael Harding, it can be upwards of $600 for a single tube. The brand Golden, Rembrandt, Charvon, Windsor and Newton is my preferred favorite, but they are very expensive. Holbein is also another brand. Sennelier, Schmink is also another very expensive brand. So yes, these paints are expensive because they are made by professional brands with professional highest grade pigments and binders. And how would I know this? Because I myself have ground up my own pigments and made my own watercolor paints. I've even embarked on the undertaking and made the huge mistake of messing with metallics and making metallic watercolors. They turned out great, but it was hard. And yes, I even demonstrate by making miniature watercolors with my own paints. And before I became a full-time content creator, I did this on TikTok for over 3 years. I showed people how to make their own watercolor paints, what materials and binding agents they needed, the tools that they needed to utilize to be able to make their own paints. And I've done demonstrations utilizing my own paints and others. Both paints that I've bought, and expensive ones, ones that I've made myself. So to answer that question very thoroughly, yes, professional artists do use expensive paints. And that sometimes is a factor because there's a lot of really amazing, great artists who are not only talented, they are educated as well. But when you're talking upwards of $600 for a single tube of paint, yeah, it can get very pricey. And I don't really feel like boring you and educating you about canvases and making your own canvas, stretching it and all of that, because that is not only laborious as well, that can also be extremely expensive. And like I show with Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her selling her craft pieces, that it is a craft that anybody can learn how to do. Anybody can have fun doing it, and they can do it very inexpensively, just like Gypsy. In fact, I show in a video the paint that she is using in particular is one of the most inexpensive and cheapest paints that you can get. It's the craft paint from Dollar General. It is their brand that she uses largely. And that's fine. That's okay. And Gypsy can charge whatever she wants. And if people want to pay that, then that is on them. But what I do is I show everybody for under $25, they can make 6 of those themselves. And I also show them how to do the technique. They can do it whatever way they want. They can have fun with it. They can do it with their kids. They can do it with their grandkids. Hell, they can even make their own and start selling their own craft pieces. I mean, I had an entire TikTok page for over 3 years where that's all I did was showed people how to make paint. I swatched, I tested over and over and over again. I even sold some. So as I said, it didn't take long for Gypsy Rose Blanchard to deactivate her TikTok account that she has had for nearly 2 years. The one that had almost 10.4 million followers at one point. But it looks like Gypsy has caught somebody else's eye. And I know that we have already gone over this, but this is Truthfully Trisha. And she has posted everything that you are seeing on the screen. All of the words, all of the pictures, all of the captions. And she has just gone on and on and on, even about Dr. Phil. She has even used Dee Dee Blanchard's photo for a profile picture. She has gone on with rant after rant.
So Gypsy Rose Blanchard got her cult members to come after me. And I've been getting phone calls and things like that. And allegedly, she's been talking trash about me. What, really? Is she really? Okay, well, send this message to you, Gypsy Rose. You're trash. You've got blood on your hands, and your little game, people see right through you. And Christy egging her on like the wonderful stepmother that you are. I know what you all did to Dee Dee. I know. We all know what you did to Dee Dee. So don't you act like any of that. Y'all need to step down. Step down.
I'm not really sure if social media and the internet can survive Truthfully Trisha versus Says Bree or Bree with the Facts. Bree Unfiltered, waiting to be served. Free Bree, something strawberry, whatever she goes by. And you know it's likely to happen because Bree is going to end up mentioning this or talking about this or covering this in multiple different lives. But truthfully, Trisha is anticipating that. She is counting on that. She is instigating that. That's what she does. That's what she's known for. That's what she's been doing to multiple different content creators and users that have bigger followings than her for a long time. And it's not necessarily about Brie. It's about the fact that she's Gypsy's friend and she has Gypsy Rose Blanchard right in her crosshairs. But who knows, because Truthfully Trisha is claiming to be justice for Dee Dee. And she's even claiming that if anybody makes a significant contribution to a nonprofit in Dee Dee's name, that she will give you a painting later. Is she doing this just to mess with Gypsy? Is she creating blown beauty art just to mess with Gypsy? So that way when people go to look up Gypsy's art or blown beauty art, they're going to inadvertently see Truthfully Trisha, her videos, her art. It's very likely that that is actually what she's doing and what this is all about, because Truthfully Trisha has been trying to become famous online for a very long time. And she does seem jealous of people with larger followings than her because she mentions it. And if you didn't know, Gypsy is not deactivated on Instagram and you can still buy her art over there.
I have talent. I want to be where the people are. I want to see them dancing, walking around on those, what do you call them? Oh, feet. Out where they run, out where they stay all day in the sun. Wish I could be part of your world. Because I want to be YouTube famous. I think that I can be, because this is where I belong. On the silver screen. Well, it's not really silver. It's all kinds of color and, well, anyway, I think I should be. My dream should come true. And I should be YouTube famous. Finally, break through the algorithm. Make me viral. Finally.
I know a lot of people said that this woman is absolutely mentally ill and that she has done a lot of things to harm her ex-husband, her kids, her parents, and that allegedly her parents have a permanent restraining order against her. But I was really hoping that she would share her actual story because I thought she was kind of funny. But then the continuous post after post after post, when you know she's got all these other TikToks and all these other YouTubes, was kind of a lot. So it's really hard to tell if she's doing this just to mess around or if she's really trying to go viral or just mess up Gypsy's whole life. If it's jealousy over having 9.5 million followers for an art page, or I don't know, if she's just simply being funny because she thinks it's funny to troll Gypsy. It's hard to say. Not gonna lie though, she was kind of funny. She even wasted no time clapping back to Brie and Gypsy's so-called cult. So now when people look up blown beauty art, they're going to find all of those videos.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard was never abused by her mother. As a matter of fact, for most of her life, she was in on the con. All Gypsy is a lying, manipulative, attention-seeking grifter.
Call a spade, honey. Keep making content.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Please like and share. Do not forget to smash the subscribe button. I will catch you all on the flip side.